Hey everybody, this is Jake. Thanks for being here. This week we are starting a new series, Practicing the Kingdom. It's a series that explores how following Jesus reshapes our imagination, our desires, and our way of life. Let's get started with part 1, what the commandments are really for. Meredith was being a problem. That's what our daughter's 3rd grade teacher was telling us. What do you mean? We asked. The teacher pointed to a large display at the front of the room. Across the top were 12 construction paper rectangles, each numbered with a different rule beneath it. Do you see those? They are the 12 commandments of this classroom. Every time a student disobeys a commandment, I put their name under the tablet for everyone to see. Look how many times I've listed Meredith's name. She talks too much. To ease the tension, I said, even God has only 10 commandments. Meredith's teacher didn't see the humor. Joy stifled a laugh, but gave me the side eye. I got the message. That's hilarious. You're not helping. Joy's look stopped me from saying what was going to come next. That's not how commandments work in the first place. At least, not God's commandments. The 10 commandments are not rules to follow in order to stay in God's favor. They are practices that teach us how to live together as the kind of people God created us to be. God did not give the commandments as a test to see whether we would obey and deserve punishment when we fail. The commandments are an invitation into a fuller way of living together. After all, to be fully human is to live in relationship with God, with one another, and even with ourselves. Jesus had some conflict with religious authorities about the 4th commandment. Remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. So let's use this commandment to illustrate the point. On one Sabbath, Jesus and his disciples were passing through a grain field. The disciples plucked grain and ate as they walked. Some religious authorities criticized them for working on the Sabbath, clearly breaking God's commandment. Jesus famously replied that the Sabbath was made for humans. Humans were not made for the Sabbath. In other words, God gives us Sabbath for our flourishing, not as a rule to enforce rigidly. In our day, we often think Sabbath simply means taking a day off. But as John Mark Comer points out, many of us are just as busy on our days off as we are during the work week. We cram errands, chores, unfinished projects, and even leisure activities into every available moment. We may stop working for a paycheck, but we never really stop. But you see, that misses the point of Sabbath completely. Sabbath means stop. Stop hurrying. Stop producing. Stop distracting ourselves with all the urgent but not ultimate things of life. The point is not merely rest. The point is remembering what is most real, our life with God. Set aside one day to practice remembering that. Over time, Sabbath teaches us to carry that attentiveness into the rest of our lives. That is how human beings flourish, how we begin to feel in our bones that we were made by love and for love. And it is precisely that kind of flourishing Jesus came to share with us. He is God in the flesh, showing us what fully human life looks like. Jesus teaches us through his way of living, his healings and table fellowship, his death and resurrection. When he says, "Follow me," he's inviting us to pattern our lives on his way of love. As Jesus prepared to ascend, he told his followers to continue this work of formation by embodying it themselves. Teach them to obey everything that I have commanded you. Feed the hungry, shelter the homeless, clothe the naked, not to prove our worthiness, but because this is what love does. Resist evil with good. Be merciful even to the wicked. Remember that every person is more than the worst thing they have ever done. Keep the main thing, the main thing. Jesus was not naive. He knew this is not the way the world usually works. Ours is a world shaped by competition, distraction, fear, and the pursuit of more. And yet Jesus calls us to another way, a way of mercy, generosity, courage, and love, a way of being human together that reflects the kingdom of God. To practice the life of heaven here on earth. Next week, folks, we'll turn to What's the Hurry for part 2. We'll be looking at the spiritual cost of busyness and how practicing the kingdom restores our peace. There is a practice for the week, which is what we'll be doing for a while now. If you are listening on Substack, of course, it's right in the email that you got. Or if you're at Apple Podcast or at Spotify, just go to the show notes and you'll find the practice for the week there. At any rate, that's it for now, friends. Until next week, be well and God bless.